Welcome back once again, and we're still joined inside the studio by our dear guest, Dr. Sara Khater. She's a mass communication professor at Cairo University. And Dr. Khater, we were talking about the breaching of the ceasefire agreement, the 2-week ceasefire agreement by Israel, as usual. Yes. This is nothing new for Israel. But at the same time, talking about the stranded people inside the southern suburbs of Beirut, southern Lebanon, and the Bekaa Valley, that is quite a hefty number of population. Are there any aid system prepared for this, those simultaneous crises, and especially that it's going across Lebanon, and it sparks all of a sudden, whenever it crossed their mind to strike, let me strike those innocent people, Israel does it. And at the same time, also in Gaza, that never stopped. Of course. The informal settlements are still taking over in the West Bank, and still the killings. Even they have issued, they are on their way to ratify a law that would execute the political prisoners. Of course. So how exactly this is going to take its course in the near future, aside with the American-Iranian war?
Well, first of all, I think the entire world, all the countries, they need to participate in aiding Lebanon. As you mentioned, the escalation has been going on very quickly since yesterday, and since specifically the declaration of the agreement. I think it's as if the Israeli side reflected, or it's a kind of reflex to the declaration of the ceasefire agreement. They just bombed Lebanon. Severe strike launched. Civilians were killed with no regard whatsoever, without consideration of the consequences of such airstrikes. So I think the entire world should participate in aiding the Lebanese people right now, and at the same time they should participate in an action against this aggression.
Right. But then the question might raise itself immediately after this. What is the response on the U.S. side immediately after striking? Official, probably the defense secretary, he said that Lebanon
and the vice president, the American vice president.
The American vice president, yes. He said that this is excluded from the agreement.
From the agreement, yes.
So there is still going to be war on some place, but another place, no. And Hezbollah, they know that they are in, it is part of Iran, part and parcel of Iran.
Well, as you said, the agreement was announced with 10 points, 10 specific points, and the media reports came to all of us that stopping the strikes on Lebanon was a main part of the agreement. And then we were surprised and were struck by the Israeli behaviors, the Israeli airstrikes over Lebanon, and then the American side claimed that Lebanon was not among the 10 points of the agreement. Actually, this is outrageous, killing civilians in such huge numbers, and claiming just under the justification, the mere justification, that Lebanon was not part of the agreement. I think this is really outrageous and requires immediate action from the international community. And I think this is what the official statement of the Egyptian Ministry of Foreign Affairs highlighted yesterday, that the international community, the entire international community, should unify in the face of such aggression.
Of course, at least when it comes to respecting ceasefire agreements.
Of course.
Because those ceasefire agreements are a foundation for a future halt of the war.
Yes, a future peace process.
If you are instigating aggression and strikes at a time, I am reconsidering to hold an agreement with you and shake hands for a peace agreement, this is going to take me to another level of aggression.
Of course, I totally agree with you. And right now, this is a total disruption of the peace process. And this disrupts, to some extent, what's going on in Gaza and the peace process that Egypt has been leading in order to stop the war on Gaza. And I always say that the Iranian-American war has shifted the international attention from what was going on in Gaza and the West Bank, and in addition to them, Lebanon as well. There was some kind of...
Do you think that was planned for?
I think so, somehow, yes, because let's face it, the Israeli forces have not stopped their atrocities in Gaza, the West Bank and Lebanon all this time. It has been going on, and at the same time, there's no consideration for the lives of people, as usual, no respect for ceasefire agreements, as usual, and then yesterday, finally, we've seen the strikes on Lebanon.
Right. At the same time, this is going to lead the whole world to a very important question, which is, now it's only, like President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have very smartly pointed out to during the Egypt's 2026 energy forum that was held earlier last week. He addressed the president, and within his might of power, and as a peacemaker and someone who is opting for peace agreements, and he is the only one with his wisdom could be able to stop this war. He was sending messages that the ball is in your court.
Yes.
And there were political messages also. In case you do not take a step back, Israel is going to lead the United States to unprecedented levels of bad consequences. That's not going to be for the best interests of Americans. And it's leading you to the totally wrong route. So do you think that in this case the ball is going to be in the court of the U.S. and then the U.S. is going to take a decision to hold it back and seek its own route and look over its own interest?
Well, we hope so. Hopefully the U.S. Can stop this war.
Because what Israel is doing is not logic.
Of course, and let's be frank, the U.S. can stop the war. They can take the decision that enough is enough. Stop the war, and specifically that they are losing because of this war.
Exactly.
Yes, the American people, they are not very happy.
They are exhausting their energy.
Exactly.
Their financial sources.
Of course.
And the popularity of the current U.S. administration is sinking below, especially that there are elections coming, and there are lots of considerations that would the U.S. should take heed to.
Yes, and a lot of media reports as well, just like you mentioned, they are telling us that the majority of American people inside the United States, they are not happy with such a war. They cannot understand the reason of launching this war at the beginning. So I think that the U.S. has every power to take a decision to stop the war, once and for all. It has the power to enforce a ceasefire on all levels, in all places, whether it was Iran, Gaza, Lebanon. I think they have the power to do so. It's just the will and the decision to be taken.
Right.
Yes.
That is very much true. In this case, do you think Iran is going to be able to cooperate with the U.S. administration? They would sit again to the negotiating table, probably would give up some of its harsh conditions, and they would come to a common consent.
Understanding. Yes, I think they have already announced that they are willing to sit on the negotiations table on condition that they would be respected and their country would be respected, of course, and on the condition of stopping the war and stopping the airstrikes, and at the same time their control over the Strait of Hormuz.
In case the Strait of Hormuz is sorted out, do you think there could be some good news concerning the ending of this war and somehow some calmness in southern Lebanon, or this is not going to have any impact over?
Well, I think so, yes, because till now this is the focus of the war, as we can hear.
According to the U.S.
Exactly,
but not to Israel.
Exactly. So, according to the U.S., according to the media reports and President Trump's several press statements and several posts on social media, the main issue and the main reason for the war is Iran's nuclear power and at the same time the control over the Strait of Hormuz. So I think if the Strait issue is resolved, we may see some kind of agreement. Maybe not to end the war entirely, but at least a ceasefire.
Yes. Iran have firmly and openly and publicly said that's non-negotiable, that negotiating a ceasefire, a temporary ceasefire, is totally rejected.
Yes.
Ending
yes,
the
true.
war, okay, we can sit on the negotiating table. So, but regardless from this, how could be the situation of the people inside the southern Lebanon and Al-Baqa Valley in light of what's happening? They are continuously bombarded. And they are violated, their rights are violated. Of course, they are in complete danger, and they are facing displacement. God knows to where, because there is turmoil worldwide. So how exactly would you describe the situation inside southern Lebanon, and where is it going to move to?
Well, we are hoping that we can reach a ceasefire in Lebanon as well, as we have reached, even if a temporary ceasefire on the Iranian side. But right now, the situation is very much devastating inside of Lebanon. There should be an immediate stopping for the Israeli airstrikes. There should be the beginning of the entrance of several humanitarian aids from different countries around the world. Everyone should participate in this, because I think and I believe the situation in Lebanon right now is our entire responsibility, everyone's responsibility.
Yeah, but some would say, like Egypt, have been sending humanitarian aid.
Yes.
And like we are sending to Gaza at the same time, in spite of we are leading the ceasefire agreements and diplomacy concerning that war. But some might say that the countries inside the region and worldwide, they have their hands full with more major events like a possible nuclear confrontation. So in this case, they are afraid that the people in Al-Baqa Valley and southern Lebanon wouldn't have that much luck, that people would consider their case, because there are much more important or severe threats of danger that are looming in the sky.
Yes, well, I think that countries around the world and the international community should not declare the state of Lebanese people hopeless yet. There's still hope for the Lebanese people if the international community comes to an agreement and unify to stop the Israeli aggression. So their case should not be declared hopeless. There should be a consideration, there should be an immediate action, there should be an immediate entrance for different humanitarian aids on so many levels.
At the end of the day, I would like to thank you so much, Dr. Sara Khater, a mass communication professor at Cairo University. Thank you so much, and all the best of luck.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
It has been a great pleasure having
Thank
you. And of course, it's the sharp decline in oil prices that reflect the market confidence in possibility of the escalation of this optimism might improve premature of underlying issues that are not resolved. Whether this moment evolves a lasting diplomatic breakthrough or remains a temporary pause in a longer cycle of tension, that depends on the ability of both sides to translate a dialogue and negotiate into concrete and sustainable agreements. More details.
The ceasefire agreement between US and Iran is primarily aimed at stabilizing the Strait of Hormuz, a vital maritime corridor through which a significant portion of the world's oil supply passes. During the recent escalation,